It's been 2 weeks since E3
Yep.
and now we've got the time to sit down and actually talk about what we saw at these press conferences. I'm sure by now you've all seen plenty of reaction videos and impressions and so forth and so on, so we'll kind of not go too deep into how we thought about it, but that's what these videos are for, so I guess kind of a catch-22 there.
Some of these games are even out now.
Yeah, some games are actually already out from the list that we're going to be talking about. So we're going to talk about the game companies in the order in which we had their events, as opposed to the predictions were in the order of last year.
Yeah, we forgot that EA had their conference before.
Yeah, and so I can say that right off the bat, 2016 probably much better than last year.
Yeah, I felt overall content. A lot more content, a lot more games, a lot more showcases.
Yeah. It didn't, and in terms of announcements, maybe it didn't have as much wow, but there was still plenty of goodness.
Kind of hard to beat what Sony did last year.
Yeah. So we're going to start with EA. We know that rather than having their typical press conference and presence at E3, they decided to kind of forgo that in favor of EA Play, which was a kind of an event for all fans of Electronic Arts to kind of come and play their games, as well as have their press conference first.
I feel it was kind of hit or miss, and I think of all the press conferences, I think theirs was the weakest.
I wouldn't say even hit or miss. There was really a lot of nothing that was shown.
Yes. We've had this happen before, a conference with barely any gameplay, or just like, talking about engines. Same thing here. A lot of talking, a lot of show, not a lot of show.
Yeah, it's weird. It's one of those times where we have so many games to talk about, and then they don't show any games. This is actually very reminiscent, as you mentioned. 2 years ago, they had a press conference where they
just talked about
games and stuff that were in production and what was coming, and then none of that actually came out. This year actually became worse because they actually showed less, and they talked about less stuff. And in fact, we found out later down the road that some of the stuff that were talked about 2 years ago had been canceled. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot, kind of like anti-announcements.
And it's kind of funny because it's called EA Play, and a lot of it was just...
Yeah, it was EA talk about stuff.
Yeah,
between two events, the two venues.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that was weird. But let's get started. The first game they talked about was Titanfall 2. Everyone wanted to hear about this. And they did the one thing that I wanted them to do, though it got leaked before the conference, and that's a single-player campaign. And that is what I'm excited for.
Yeah, it's interesting because I kind of learned more about the lore about the world of Titanfall, with the robots having their own AI. They kind of attach to people. I didn't really think about that so much in the whole grand scheme of things. But they did show some multiplayer as well.
New mechs.
Yeah, so they kind of showed off quite a bit of Titanfall 2, and I think that having a single-player campaign was a big thing they wanted to mention, and unfortunately it leaked out. But
that's a big thing that happened this year at E3 as well.
Yeah, a lot of random leaks all of a sudden. But it was definitely a success in my eyes for Titanfall 2.
Yep. And then we went on to Madden. We're not big fans of sports. It's Madden.
They discussed that they had new modes, like now you can set up your own championships, or they can have sponsored championships. Reminds me of Splatfest, come to think of it. But really, really wasn't like a huge revolutionary thing. I'm sure most online games have some sort of lobby-based system.
It was
where
more
you
of
create championships.
It was more of a service thing they announced.
Yeah,
for it.
It wasn't really any new changing gameplay mechanics or anything.
Nope, same old, just with new online features.
So Tony, Mass Effect. You want to hear about Mass Effect Andromeda?
Yeah, we want to hear about Mass Effect.
Here's a teaser trailer, and maybe it'll come out.
Yeah, this behind the curtain thing, which, by the way, I hate the curtain. Whatever that thing is.
Let's stay on the front of the curtain. You can bring up things from the curtain when
It was
ready.
A weird trailer, or at least a montage of what they were doing, because there was actually some good content there. They were showing the visuals and the characters, and they just interspersed with people writing, working on their computer or programming. It's not needed. We know you guys are working on it. You don't need to show us you're working on it.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that means that the game is way early in development.
Well, I wouldn't say way early. The game is slated for spring of next year. So 2017. Yeah.
Wow. Why didn't they just show it then?
Well, that's the question everyone's has on their mind. Is this game making that release date? And my thought is no, it's not. My thought is that the way they showed it off here, they're either going to show off more in the fall or in the holiday season. So if they don't have a huge blowout by then, that game is getting delayed. So while there's too many games out there to talk about, including the one that just probably got delayed, they took a moment to talk about their online services.
Yes.
So first of all, a lot of games are available for free during that week, so they're no longer now, but EA Access and Origin, which is their PC platform like Steam, they talk about that. And they also talk about this Play to Give campaign, which was kind of like this...
a charity thing?
It was
I'm not exactly sure how it works.
The premise was if you did certain things in the games, like almost like achievements, they would donate to a cause.
But they're still saying they're going to donate.
Yeah, pretty much. So it was kind of irrelevant. It was a neat, nice gesture anyway.
Yeah, it was, but it didn't make any sense. At least they didn't explain it well enough.
Now, one of the interesting things they had was, what I say interesting when I mentioned FIFA, but that's what happened. EA Sports FIFA 17 was shown, but they actually showed off something really interesting, which was a single-player campaign following a fictional character through the ranks.
Called The Journey.
The Journey.
In fact, when they announced it, they had an actor come out on stage and was like, "This is my journey." And that was kind of... Yeah, they really didn't need that.
Last year, they had someone come out and rap about like poetry about basketball, didn't they? Or was that 2 years ago? It was crazy.
It's a blur when it comes to EA and sports.
But on top of that, they also had one of the weirdest exchanges where they talked about the different coaches that you could have join or kind of coach you. One of them was like this notoriously staunchy Frenchman.
We don't know much about sports, so...
Or British person. But he showed up, and he was like, "Hey, Peter Molyneux." He was like, Peter Moore. He was like lambasting him. He was trying to do this ad-lib thing, and it did not roll well. It was not Pele, who talked for too long. This was a guy who almost refused to speak.
It was weird. I think they had to force things out of him, and it didn't. I don't know. It was unnecessary. It was unnecessary, and I hope they didn't do the whole London, America thing with the two conferences going at the same time just because he was there.
Yeah, and oh, by the way, 3 trailers. They had 3 trailers for FIFA, as far as I remember.
Yes, they did.
And
I remember that.
That just goes to show where their priorities lie, which is football in the European sense.
Yeah, soccer.
So after that, they actually decided to kind of go back to original games, literally to EA Originals, a new service where...
Didn't they already have something like this before?
It was called EA Partners. It was originally a process where developers would pitch games to them and they would help publish them. And essentially canceled it. They closed it out. So this is kind of like Partners 2.0. I guess the premise is they want to get smaller developers to come forward and kind of deal with that. The first game of that was Unravel, which was announced a couple of years ago, last year, and came out.
It was a favorite game for me last year.
Yeah. And this time they announced a game from Zoink Games called Fee. Now, Fee is not to be confused with the character from the Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. Fee is a game where you play as a little animal creature who uses song to get other creatures and the world around the creature to react in a positive light.
Yeah, but of course, then there's also the thing. I think they're called like a silencer.
Like that.
So basically, these other robots that probably represent humans running around, basically destroying the sounds of nature, and you have to try to stop them. It looked really nice. It looked kind of early. Not much was shown, but again, I really like what they're doing with the original stuff. Hopefully, they'll keep this brand around and get more stuff going for it.
Yep.
Then Star Wars!
Oh my gosh, Star Wars.
Can't get less than Star Wars. Nothing was shown. It was a montage of there's basically people talking about how it was great they're working on Star Wars, and
it's gonna be great.
No, it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. They talked about how there were 3 all the games that are currently live.
Yeah, they're open.
That are currently active that you could buy right now and play Star Wars stuff on it. And that's them saying, we don't have any Star Wars stuff right now, so buy the stuff we currently have on now.
Now, on the plus side, they did announce new projects. They announced that Respawn Entertainment, the guys who were working on Titanfall 2, they're now working on the preliminary stages of another Star Wars game. So that's going to be cool to see.
Yes.
That also means there's no Titanfall 3 in development. Also, on top of that, Visceral Games, the guys that we predicted was making a game, they did show off like about 5 seconds of gameplay footage.
Yes.
That looks like Uncharted-esque.
It looks interesting.
Yeah, third-person action.
In that very brief clip that we saw.
And it looked nice, and then that was the end of it. Not even title screens. We know that Battlefront is getting DLC, and that they're also getting like a sequel coming out next year. I think what they were saying, something to that effect.
They didn't really explain.
They didn't officially announce anything. They kind of just said things.
They just said, "Here's all the guys that are under our hats that are making games with Star Wars."
Yep,
that's it.
And then they ended it with Battlefield 1, specifically the number 1. But what happens is they had this weird trailer set up where they would show off like this the first 5 to 10 seconds, or maybe like 30 seconds of trailer, and then stop it, and the guy's like, "Hey, I want to talk to you about Battlefield 1. Now let's re-roll it."
And then they ran the whole trailer intro again, and then they showed the rest of the trailer. That's not how you do it. You should have started with like a brief trailer and then gone into the discussion and then a continuation of the said trailer.
Yeah. Now, I do have to say, after the whole press conference, which, by the way, this ended with Battlefield 1, but after they had the press conference, they actually had a full 64-player battle.
A major battle.
And they showed it take place, and by all means, that looked really nice.
That should have been in the conference.
But they didn't. Instead, they showed the same trailer twice.
Again, as we just discussed, this was a very non-game focused. I felt like there wasn't a lot of games being talked about.
We just mentioned a handful of them.
Major ones, too.
But a lot of them are just kind of... they were talked a lot.
Not a lot of talking.
They didn't really show a lot either. Like I said, the biggest disappointments was that they talked about Star Wars, but they didn't show off enough of it to really make it matter. They talked a lot about FIFA, and we got awkward when they didn't need to. And one of the big announcements at the start, Titanfall 2 single player, had been leaked. So really, when you look at it, having their own event, they didn't really do a very good job. I think that...
hopefully they'll learn next year.
Some of the presentation was nice, like the floor and all the glowing lights and stuff, but I think that they really didn't do a good job trying to convey that they had something really cool to show off.
But as we mentioned, this is kind of them trying to get people to work for them.
Apparently the Star Wars videos were being done for that purpose.
Yeah, like the Star Wars, even with Mass Effect, the way they're showing people working, like, we're working on these great IPs, come work for us, come work with us. And then, of course, the EA Originals thing was them saying, listen, if you're looking for a publisher, we can help you. We're big enough, we can help you. Look, we're friendly with the indies.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we're getting from this, is it's kind of not only a presentation of games, but also a presentation to the developers.
So now let's take a brief look at what we predicted. We predicted that there would be a new Star Wars game. Correct, though it was not shown. it was briefly shown. We predicted Battlefront DLC. Yeah. It was discussed, but not shown.
Ooh.
Mass Effect Andromeda was there in some fashion.
And behind the curtains.
The Criterion's game was canceled, despite our suspicion that it was going to be there for 60%.
It was canceled?
That's the one they said they absolutely canceled.
All right, it's canceled.
Then there was Battlefield 1, shown, obviously.
Yep, but a huge
Unravel 2, not actually... No, we know Unravel 2 might be in development, but Fee was shown, and that might as well have been. But not
you can't take that.
Yeah. And, of course, sports. Lots of sports. So that's sports. And then no real mobile game.
Oh, nope, that's not true.
Oh, what was it?
It wasn't that game, that Star Wars game?
Oh, you're right, one of the Star Wars games.
Yeah, one of the 3 Star Wars games is a mobile game.
They did not send us off to the side to talk about Minions, though. So at least that we have that.
Yes, they did not do it that.
So anyway, that concludes EA. If we were to, I think we discussed about this earlier, about grades. I was going to say, based on the game announcements they made and the way they presented it, we were going to give it, I gave it like a D+.
That's about right. Again, a very disappointing presentation. A lot of the good stuff was leaked, and the way the Star Wars thing was just there saying, listen, we got Star Wars under our wing. That's what we're going to do.
Yeah, it was poorly paced. And not only that, but the stuff they actually had to show for us were kind of like, okay, now what? Which kind of didn't help build anything. Battlefield 1's good stuff happened after the fact.
Yeah.
So that's EA. Now we're going to go to Bethesda.